One was the mid-year budget autonomy bill. It will seem astonishing to most Americans to know that in the middle of the year, the district had to come here to ask the Congress essentially if it could spend the money it had collected the first half of the year. And so the district had to be on the first supplemental, creating another delay for the district. When I was in the minority, that was given up, and that bill was passed. And when I was in the minority, and this is why I believe this is and will be a bipartisan bill, when I was in the minority and pointed out the hardships on the district of having our budget go 3 or 4 months past even our September 30th deadline, they agreed, and now for at least half a dozen, perhaps 10 years, the district budget has gotten out on the first CR. But look at that. What is a CR? CR are government agencies, and therefore we continue to be treated as a government agency. There's a huge problem for the district that our budget year is attuned to the federal budget year, whereas in your district and Mr. Chaffetz's district, the budget year is over by the summer. You can prepare for school. Our folks have to prepare for school, which is one of the great, if not the overriding goal or issue in the District of Columbia. Without its budget in hand, it has created terrible problems in the past when the budget was delayed. The legislative autonomy is even more laughable. The budget autonomy, seems to me, speaks for itself. Most people don't know what Chairman Gray and the council go through in order to get a bill to be final. And I'm going to let him describe a process that is not even used in the Congress anymore. That is to say, we do not indeed use resolutions of disapproval. You've never had one brought from my colleagues on the other side, and certainly not from us. We don't issue a resolution of disapproval, go and vote on it here, and then go and vote on the Senate. But we require the district to act as if we did. So the district has to come here and wait for 30 legislative days or 60 legislative days if it's a criminal matter. Well, we're not in for 5 legislative days, most or many days. So the district's laws can go many months without being final, and yet we say to Mayor Fenty and Chairman Gray, you run that city and you make sure you run it efficiently. And if you don't, you will hear from people up here saying you're not a very efficient city. No jurisdiction in the United States is faced with such handicaps, particularly handicaps for which there is no reason today. If the reason is control, you retain the control. You will hear, finally, the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, talk about the cost, the real cost to the city, which is not a state, in having redundant oversight from the Congress of the United States. Mr. Chairman, you as Chairman Towns, my good friend, Mr. Chaffetz, have an opportunity, it seems to me, to do for the district what was done for the district in 1974. Take the historic step of giving the district the last 2 important elements of home rule for the District of Columbia. And I couldn't thank you enough for what you've done for us today.
I thank the gentlelady. I would like to go out of order just to allow the full chairman of the committee, the gentleman from Brooklyn, New York, Mr. Towns, 5 minutes for an opening statement. We thank him for his attendance here today.
Thank you very much, Congressman Lynch. I would like to thank Congressman Lynch and Congressman Chafee for holding this hearing on autonomy for the District of Columbia, and thank my good friend, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, for her hard work on behalf of the district. And let me again thank the witnesses for their attendance here today. I want to let you know we really appreciate your being here. Welcome Mayor Fenty, and on behalf of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. And I thank the Mayor for his attendance this morning. And I want to thank Councilman Brown. I want to thank Councilman Gray and other elected and appointed officials for coming. I support home rule and self-governance in the district Over the years, the district has achieved great independence. And of course, this has been done through the district's own advocacy. The adoption of the Home Rule Act and the end of involvement by the Control Board in the district's finances, among other measures, the district has steadily proved its ability to manage its own affairs, even passing a balanced budget during an economic crisis that has greatly affected many state and local governments. I applaud the progress that has been made in the district and your efforts to implement the principle of home rule. I look forward to working very closely with Congresswoman Norton and, of course, Chairman Lynch and the ranking member, Congressman Chafee, and, of course, you too, Mayor Fenty, to make certain that home rule is a reality. Now, I know that it has been a long battle, long struggle, but I think we have to continue to fight and be able to continue to push on. My son, who serves in the State Assembly in New York, says to me, he says, you know, Dad, sometimes people just catch on faster than others. There's a thing called individual differences. He says, sometimes it takes some people 2.5 hours to watch 60 Minutes. Doesn't mean they can't watch it, just take them a lot longer. So we hope that as we continue to talk about the importance of home rule, that eventually the other members of Congress will get it and understand how important it is to move this forward. Congresswoman Norton, keep pushing. I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Cummings, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you and Mr. Chafee for holding this vitally important hearing to examine two pieces of legislation that would increase autonomy for the federal tax-paying residents of the District of Columbia. H.R. 960, the District of Columbia Legislative Autonomy Act of 2009, and H.R. 1045, the District of Columbia Budget Autonomy Act of 2009. I appreciate the opportunity to move forward on these pieces of legislation as part of Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton Free and Equal D.C. legislative initiative. And I must say to Ms. Norton, I thank you for all that you do. You have constantly been on the battlefield on this issue and so many others. And you had to convince some of us and then to bring others of us along to do the right thing. But you know that there are many who are on your side. We just got to get a few more. In the Constitution, the district clause was crafted to help protect federal interests without state cooperation and to prevent particular state influences on the legislature where the federal capital was located. Mr. Chairman's time has changed. The residents of the District of Columbia deserve a government that operates for them as effectively and efficiently as possible. And these two pieces of legislation would help achieve this goal. H.R. 960, the District of Columbia Legislative Autonomy Act of 2009, would eliminate congressional review of newly passed district laws. Since the Home Rule Act established the local district government in 1973 by allowing constituents to elect the mayor and city council, Congress has rarely taken advantage of the review process to overturn past legislation. In fact, only once has a resolution of disapproval been signed by the president. That was President Bush in 1991, who signed a resolution that was related to restricting the height of buildings in the district. This process imposes an unnecessary burden on the United States Congress, and I believe it is time we trusted the District of Columbia government to pass laws for its own citizens. H.R. 1045 would allow the district to forego congressional review and approval of its operating and capital budgets financed from local revenues. The district budget moves through the routine federal appropriations process, which Congress regularly falls short of passing before the beginning of the fiscal year. In fact, only once since 1996 has Congress enacted the district's budget before the start of the district's fiscal year. Allowing the district to implement its local budget without mandatory congressional review will prevent delay in service funding and, more important, service delivery. Citizens of the District of Columbia pay taxes. and the way those tax dollars are spent should be determined by their elected officials. The people of the District of Columbia deserve and demand the full rights that they are due. And I appreciate again Congresswoman Norton's tireless efforts to achieve this for them.